Hey there guys, welcome back to the Modern JavaScript Crash course, lesson 15. In this lesson, we're going to be taking a look at JavaScript conditional statements. As always guys, if you're new here and like the content, don't forget to like and subscribe and make sure you turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Now, very often when you write code, there are going to be times where you want to perform different actions for different decisions, and the way we can achieve this is using conditional statements. So what conditional statements essentially do is just control the behavior in JavaScript and determine whether or not pieces of code can run. Now, as you can see here inside VS Code, we've got 4 different types of conditionals in JavaScript. You've got the if statement, which is used to specify a block of code to be executed if that specified condition is true. You've also got the else statement, where if the same condition is false, it will execute something else in that block of code. And you've also got the else if statement, and this essentially just specifies a new test if that first condition is false. And then lastly, we've got switch statements, which we're not going to go over in this video. We're going to go over in the next video because they require a whole video on their own. So now we have a basic definition of JavaScript conditional statements. Let's look at all of these individually in more detail. So we'll start off with the if statement. So we'll just go underneath this comment here. Now, as I mentioned, the conditional if statement specifies a JavaScript code for execution only if that condition is true. So the syntax of an if statement is quite simple. First, we have the if keyword, followed by parentheses, and inside these parentheses is where we insert our condition here. And then after the parentheses, we use curly braces, and inside these curly braces is going to be that code that will get executed if the condition we set inside the parentheses is true. So we're going to just put a comment here just to show you guys. So we'll say code to get executed when the above specified condition is true. So again, the condition we set inside the parentheses, if that's true, the code we set inside of this curly braces here will be executed, and you'll see the output in the console. So let's go ahead and create a condition. So first, I'm just going to create a variable. So we're going to say let age equals 18, and the condition I'm going to create is we're going to say age is equal to or greater than 18, and the code we want to execute is we'll just log in the console here and we'll say string value of say can vote, and as you can see, we're getting the can vote string inside of our console here. And again, how this is working is that the above if statement here checks if the variable age is greater than or equal to 18, which is our condition that we set. If it's greater than or equal to 18, we'll get the output of can vote, which you can see here because this is true. If I were to change this to, let's say, 15, you can see nothing gets executed because the condition essentially fails, and the code associated with the if statement here will not be executed. Now, if we want to take this step even further and have an execution if our condition is false, we can use the else statement. So when the condition inside the if statement is false, the code associated with the else statement, which we'll create in just a second, will get executed instead of just not generating anything as we've just seen here. Now, the syntax for this is pretty simple. So after our if statement here, we'll just put in the else keyword, followed by the curly braces, and the code we insert here now is what we want to be executed and outputted if the condition which we set here in the if statement is false. So the code I want executed is just going to be a console log, and instead of can vote, we'll say can't vote. So as you can see in our console now, we're getting the string value we created in the else statement here. So essentially what we've done now is create a condition for 2 different scenarios. If the value of the age variable here is greater than or equal to 18, the code associated with the if condition is executed, which is this code here. On the other hand, if the age variable is less than 18, the code associated with the else statement is executed and outputs our new statement. So just to show you guys this is working, let's make the age 20. And as you can see, because this condition is true, it's giving us the output of the if statement. Now guys, we can actually go one step further than this. We can actually add more conditions to our condition here, and we do that with the else if statement. Now the else if statement essentially just allows for more than 2 possible outcomes. You can add as many else if statements as you like to make more complex conditionals. So what we'll do actually is just create a new variable here. We're going to call this mark, and we'll set this to a value of, let's just say 67 for now, and then get rid of the else statement here and the code that we want to execute inside of our if statement. And what we're going to do is change the conditions. We're going to say mark, and we're going to say is greater than 90, and mark is less than or equal to 100. We'll close it off, and what we want to do is log in here the a string, let's say grade equals A plus, and as mentioned, what we can do from here is use the else if statement to create more than 2 possible outcomes. So we're going to say else if followed by parentheses, and we're just going to say, or we're just going to grab this condition here, insert it inside here, but instead of 90 we're going to say 80, and then we'll put 90, grab the curly braces, and the code we want to execute is another console log, but instead of an A star we'll just say A, and then what we're going to do is add another condition, so we'll duplicate this a couple more times, just delete that section there, and instead of 80 here we'll put 70, and we'll put 80 for that one, and we'll say grade B, and then for this one we'll just drop this down to 60, and we'll say 70 here, and this grade will be a C. And then lastly, this is where we insert our else statement, which is going to be the final outcome. So we'll say else console log, and we'll just put in here fail. So in this example now, we've used multiple else if statements. The first condition here checks if the marks are between 90 and 100 and assigns a plus grade to the variable if the condition is true. If this condition here fails, it drops down to the second condition, which checks if the mark is between 80 and 90, and it will give an output of grade A. If this condition fails, it will trickle down to the third condition we set here, so a mark between 70 and 80. And if that condition fails, it will drop down to this condition here, checks if the grade is between 60 and 70, and will return the output of grade C. And then if all of these conditions here fail, it will execute the else statement, which is the last statement here, and this gives us the output of fail. And if we change this variable here now to, let's say, below 60, so say 55, we should get the output of fail. If we make it, let's say 92, we'll get an A plus. If we put 85, we should get a grade A. And let's just check for grade B, so let's give it a value of 74. You can see now we're getting the grade B. So you can see here how we've combined all of the conditional statements in JavaScript to create a functional output for a marking system, which has several different outputs that you can see here. Now it's important to remember that you can have as many else if statements as you like in your code, so you can have 30 or just a couple, it's really up to you. But in truth, writing out all of these else if statements here is, in my opinion, not very efficient and clean. And one thing I always stress is that when we're writing code, you want to make it as efficient and as clean as possible. So when we have conditional statements of this kind of quantity, it is, in my opinion, best to use switch statements instead. Now, as I mentioned, we won't look at switch statements in this video here. We're going to take a look at switch statements in the next video. So for now, we'll just summarize this lesson. The if else, and else statements are a very powerful and useful tool for us in JavaScript. They allow us to take control of a condition and execute a statement when a condition either evaluates it true. If it's false, it will execute another statement, which, as we've just seen in this example here, can create complex conditions with more than one outcome. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you like the content, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.